Alright, what are we trying to achieve here today? We have the exhausts loosely mounted on here. I needed to get them in before I put the diff in. The diff sort of fits between that gap there. What I'll do is I'll get them tightened up on these clamps here to hold them in the right position, which is out here somewhere. That'll give me the right clearance, the right position. They're through the brackets here. Got new rubbers in both these hangers. I got the bolts test fitted in the holes here for the upper control arms to mount in, which are through here, through there, and through there, which means I've got to have that clearance through to get the control arm. And then they've got the long control arms, like the lower ones, which come out here to the end of the diff. I've got the bolts test fitted here too, so everything's sitting there ready to go. Got new fuel line in here, got the new breather that goes up to just above the top of the arch there. New brake line sitting here, ready to bolt that diff brake line onto. Like it mounts through the back there with a clip on the front, and then I can screw this up onto it. So everything here is pretty much ready to go. I have the new handbrake cables. They'll thread through these and they'll clip down the back of both of those. What I haven't got, I got the new shocks in here. I'm going to leave these covered for now, just so I don't scratch them, but you can see they're pre-mounted in the hole, facing the right direction. I got the bolts in the diff there, ready to go. When I get close to it, I'll take them off. I have new strap bolts coming for the fuel tank straps. Fuel tank's off getting re-zinc coated, blasted and zinc coated at the moment, so it'll come back kind of looking like that exhaust pipe there. And these two bump stops I can install later. There's only 2 bolts in there. This bump stop you can see is on here already, so pretty much got everything ready to go. I just need to turn that diff up on its side. I'm going to try and mount it horizontally in here. I'm going to get it on a jack and try and position it, get the control arm bolts in. The reason I'm doing that is my head can't handle laying backwards on the ground. Got Meniere's disease, I think they call it, in one of my ears. I get severe dizziness and trauma when I lay my back and roll my head around. So really trying to avoid it. I can do it for short periods of time, but really trying to avoid it. So if I'm not successful here with this, I will have to wait till I get the car over off the rotisserie, and I'll have to attack it then. So I'm really hoping I don't have to do that. So let's give this a crack. There's lots of ways to do it. Like I said, you can roll it under the car once the car's jacked up and then jack the diff up underneath, but it's quite difficult. I've never tried it this way before. I'm trying for the first time, like I said, because I've got this business issue, and we'll see how this goes. So this will be either complete success or complete failure. So you'll get to see whichever way anyway. I'll show you the whole thing. I'll get everything set up. I'll turn the camera off. I'll get everything set up ready here. I'm going to flip the diff up on its edge, get it onto the jack. Once I get it on the jack, I'm going to take the top wheel off so I don't have all that weight hanging at the top here, but I'll have the bottom wheel on, so if something goes wrong, it's not going to fall straight off. It's got the wheel there to support it, and I'll just pack around the rim a bit so I don't damage it, and we'll see how that goes. So yeah, I'll mount these, I'll tighten these bolts up here first and keep these pipes out of the way. Got to make sure they're central in the hump as well, which means loosening that off, slide it back a bit, because it's not quite central at the moment. I've got to get it close to this fuel line here, so I'll do that. Next time you see it, the diff will be up in the air and an attempt will be made to put it in vertical. Righto, got the exhaust repositioned, got the diff up on the jack. It's still sitting on that wheel. I wanted a bit of area around the wheel to move it around. I got to get it in there. Hopefully the wheel will sit up on the top of the stand down there and get it pretty close. Once I get there, I'll jack it up a bit, and actually I'll take these shock bolts out at the moment because I need them to put the shocks in, and it'll be in the way when I get in there. It's those 2 shocky mount bolts. I'll leave them over here somewhere. Hopefully somewhere I can reach them. Alright, let's get this thing up on the jack if possible. Roll it in. This thing's got to turn around this way to go in there. Let me tell you, this is not light. I'll just roll it a bit further. Get this thing up a bit. To get these arms in here somewhere above these pipes somehow. I won't be able to get them in later. I might have snookered myself here. I might not be able to get this pipe high enough to get the wheel in, but I might end up having to take off one of these exhausts. It's getting there. It's probably got to come up maybe 150 mil, which we're doing at the moment. I'm getting that control arm's getting close there. This one will be fairly close to here too. I just might be able to do this now. I think I've got to come down a bit to get this one in first. That one actually might go in there, that upper. I wonder what happened then. I just lost the shock, the spring. Rubbers, bushes, whatever you call them. Get that one out of the way. I might try and get that top one in there. See if I can. Alright, let's get a screwdriver or something in the hole. I'll put that screwdriver over there. What an idiot. Give it a bit of a rubber mallet to get it up in there. That's pretty close. Screwdriver in the hole and go and get a punch or a round, like a Phillips head screwdriver. The old flathead has given me a bit of grief. That is very close to going into that hole there. I might just bring the camera in a bit closer now and show you where I'm up to. Whew. Right, hopefully you can see that right there. I'm going to get one of my bolts here, put a bit of thread, easy thread on it, what do you want to call it, thread ease. Because last thing you want when you're getting your car running is a a squeaky bolt somewhere. Let's just kick that up a bit. That way. Still a bit more. Oh, you bastard. I've got to go up a bit. And you can't get them from the back because there's nowhere to put there's nowhere to align it with, so you're kind of limited. Oh, I just ripped my nail off there before on the side of that. There, bloody hurt. Right, that's starting. It probably won't go through all the way yet, but I will. I'll get the upper arm on here if I can get it started. Let's give it a bit of a rubber mallet in. Line up the hole. Well, that's done. We'll start. Off the nuts. All right. Give this a bit of a coat. Get that in, that looks like it's going to start all the way. Look at that. Freaking magic. I could work from up here all day. I can't work from underneath the car all day. It really does my head in there. Now we need to try and line that bolt up there more. By rolling that under. Let's see if we can't. Yeah, there we go. That one's in too. I'm not even sure if you can see what I'm doing here. Alright, there's another nut going to go on the back of here now. This brake line sits fairly loose until it gets locked into position on that diff hose end. Alright, let's try and get this bottom one in down here. I don't even know if you can see what I'm doing now. Bottom one. Bottom one's not bottom one. There we go. Try and line this up. That's pretty easy. Let's line that through the bottom so we can make the bolt start on the top. Yep, that'll work. Let's give it a bit of a coat of anti-seize. Look, if you're building a show car, they would just dry mount all these. They wouldn't want any of this stuff to be seen. But for me, that's got to be lubricated. Otherwise, you will get squeaks and rattles and bumps. And there's another nut on there. Now these diff hoses, or diff brakes, the what do you call them, the handbrake cables go through these holes here and there. And up here I've got some new clips that's going to clip them on, which will work well. Now my biggest dilemma here is, how do I get that one in? I might have to loosen the bolt off and put it in manually, because I didn't swing it up far enough. What an idiot. I thought I could get it in. You can see what I'm talking about there. That one. That baby, all right there. See how it's hitting the chassis? I don't know that now if I pull this out a bit. Oh, that's relaxed a bit too much. And if I can pull it out far enough to swing it in, maybe if that exhaust wasn't on there, or maybe it's easier to just unbolt it from there, take it out, put it all in position, stick the bolts in. We'll do that. I'll move this around this way so you can see now. Hopefully you can see. Because I've got to hopefully get this impact on it and get the bolt out. Then another one. Yep. The old trusty Ryobi. Trusty Ryobi with a spanner on the back because it's spinning. There we go. Right, now let's put that back there. Let's get this up through the hole into there and back onto there. Hopefully my fat head isn't in the way. Probably is. Knock that back up in there. Remember to use rubber mallets for everything because you don't want to scratch anything that you've already painted. Alright, let's get this back on. Into there. Spare bolt, spare nut. How's this back one going to go in? Let's line it up. Alright, let's I've got to get this thing to go back a bit. There we go. It's moving up. I can see the hole almost lined up there. Get some anti-seize on that one too. Take it off the end. Don't want to see it on the end. What's going to happen to make that line up? Sweating my butt off here. There you go. Starting to go in. How far out are we? Right. arm back this way. There we go, baby. That's it. That's the diff in. Just loose. This one's going to go up in here above the diff and through this hole here with a clip on it, and that clip will hold that in place, and this hose will go into there, which will be good. That bush is on there. I need a new one. I just put it in there for now. You can see it's got a bit of a mark on the front of it. Right now we need to try and get the springs in and tighten up some bolts. Here we go, we have the spring here. We're going to try and mount the spring. We have the new rubber isolators that go in the top up here. I'll show you where they go actually. I will show you where they go. Let's have a look. See, right up in there. This is where it goes. Up and there, it sits there like that, and the other bottom part of the spring sits in the diff just here. So what we're going to try and do now is we're going to leave this shocky covered so we don't scratch it. We're going to pull the diff out this way, get the spring in its pocket there, and then get that shocky mounted on there, then do the same at the bottom. So these springs came out awesome. They're like I said, they're a standard spring, they're a king spring, but I had them media blasted. Have a look at that. I had them media blasted and powder coated black, so it matches everything else in the car here. You can see this how you get them back all wrapped up in bubble wrap. Alright, what we're going to do here now is we're going to try and pull this diff out. Pull this diff out this way. Let's let it down a touch so we can actually get it out. We might actually do the bottom one first, because the top one might be a bit, this might be a bit harder to do down here. I don't know if you can still see what I'm doing down here, can you? Let's aim it down a bit there. There we go. So, we're going to try and get this spring through this hole without damaging anything. Into that isolator there. Alright, like that. We're going to try and pull the diff out as far as we can this way and see if we can't get that spring in. Look at that! Freaking things in there, bro! Oh, man, I'm hot. Alright, now we're going to take, actually, not the moment, yeah, we're going to put the shock on loose. Here you can see what the shocks are. They're just a standard Webco shock. There's the code there, PR2097. I got them because they just come black. And they look as close to original as you can find them. So I'll get the shocky bolt now. As you can see here, I'll get the shocky bolt, put it in the hole here with a bit of lube on it. Again, we don't want any bumps and squeaks. There we go. And put it through the shocky hole. Squeeze in there. I'm going to try and bring this diff in far enough now to get that bolt in the hole. Let's get it started. Alright, now I'm going to give it a bit of a hit on the back just to look at that, bro. That's in there. Bit of rust come up inside that hole. Didn't obviously even get taken off when I was not media blasted it. Now, trick is, can we do the same at the top? It's I'll just get this bubble wrap off it. Yeah, give it a clean from dust and shit, because that's hard to get to once it's up in there. There we go. Look at that. Now let's see if we can do the same thing at the top here with minimal carnage and damage. They're coming from the back. Yep. Right in front. Because I don't see too much room in the back there. Oh, the isolator fell out somewhere. Where did that go? Hey mate, where are you? Hang on, I'll turn the camera off. I'll find that rubber isolator for the top of that shock, and top of that spring, and we'll continue. Righto, I worked out that I can't get that spring in that size that it was, so improvisation. There's a couple of ratchet straps ratcheted down. It's probably maybe at 2/3 of its height at the moment. I'm going to try and fit it in here. See if I can get some light to shine up there all the time. I don't know if I can. The rubber isolator's back up in the hole there now. I just need to put this in where it's in a position where I can get to those two. Hopefully none of this slips off and I lose a finger or something here. It's on there, and still doesn't reach. Let's just see if I can pull the diff out enough to get it in there. Oh, nearly. Oh, look at that! Look at that! The whole freaking diff is mounted. Right now, danger time. Take the ratchet straps off. All right, let's see what happens. That's a bit easier than I thought. That side. I mean, I'd rather use, from what happened then, I'd rather use ratchet straps than a normal spring compressor, because you ever seen those videos of guys getting their fingers caught in those spring compressors? Does not look like it tickles. And this way it doesn't scratch all your paint. All the end of the straps are rubber coated. I'll tidy that mess up in a second. Alright, what have we got? This other one here somewhere. It's a bit more riskier, this one. It's underneath. It's not coming open. Bit of a mallet tap. Let's see what happens here. Alright, it's come loose. Get that sock out of the way. look at that. It's in. Let's get this last shock mount on. That'll sort of give me a bit of a gauge on whether everything's in line. At the moment it doesn't really matter that much if it's all lined up or not, because none of the bolts will be tightened up yet anyway till I get it back on its wheels. Get in there. I need to give it some love taps to get it to stay in there. I need enough thread to get that nut started. There we go. Now let's just we've got half the nut started there. Get these old socks out of the way. Clean up all that extra never sees. Same down here. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Alright, let's let the weight off this diff and see what happens, see how much it moves sideways. Oh, look at that, it was just the weight of the car that rolled around. Well, there you go, don't let anyone ever tell you that you can't mount a diff while it's on a rotisserie, because I just showed you that it can. Alright, now I need to find the clips to clip these in here, find the clip to hit that brake line in there. Geez, I wish I had the fuel tank done. I could have mounted that fuel tank over there too, and that would have been done too. So there's a bit of a better look at it. All right, let's find these clips for the brake lines and handbrake cables, and I'll put them in. And for the most part, that's done. What I might do then is I might actually get the mufflers on back here. Here's the muffler. Here's one of the mufflers here. It's one of the mufflers here, so you can kind of see it fits in that space there. So it fits just here beside that hump. I guess that's why it's so cut out down in there, right? So it fits in there. I guess it's either that way or this is a redback muffler. Actually, this one has no choice. It has to go that way on this one. And then the next pipe goes up and it hits the engine pipe, and I'll mount the engine pipe on the chassis before I put it in and connect them together. Let's have a little bit of a look at the detailing here, eh? There you can see this is how they came out. They weren't all painted black and everything. The bushes were actually visible in the middle there. There's the new brake lines that are same as factory. You can see up there, brake and fuel line. You can see it's clipped in like it's supposed to be over here, that brake line. In the back there's that nut. Once I get this brake line connected up into there, that'll be complete. Once I get these clips in here, that'll be complete. You can see over the diff here see how the diff doesn't look like it's on center, but it's high. I mean, the diff's low. So once it swings around, it kind of swings up that way on the radius of these arms. There's the upper arms in there. You can see new brake lines across the diff. There's the shocks in, new shocks, new springs, powder coated. I've got to get those stopper blocks that go there. One there, one down the bottom, down in there. You see how awesome it looks when you put new bolts and new everything on a car with all this black. Like I said, I got new bolt for there coming, new bolt for down there coming. Quite cheap, bloody $20 for these two bolts that are the correct type of bolt for it. Another look at it from this angle here, you can see There's the exhaust going over the diff. There's all the bolts and bits and pieces and bushes and stuff in. It's looking schmick. I'm going to go through and tighten up all these bolts when I put these clips in. Just nip them all up, and then when it gets on the ground and everything settles, I will then tighten it all up properly. At the moment, it's quite heavy on the rotisserie. I'm going to flip it over more, and I'm going to get that bottom wheel off, so it hasn't got a lot of extra weight there. So it's just diff weight hanging out, which should be okay. I may have to adjust this, like the center position of the car. May have to adjust that to account for like the weight there now. Like I need to probably move it all up a bit to account for the weight, which is just a matter of screwing this up a bit, and yeah, not too hard. But yeah, that's freaking awesome that it's in there, eh? So the bumper kit is this bumper, rear axle bumper kit HQHJ XZWB. So obviously they're all the same. And what they look like is this block of rubber. Looks like they mold the rubber to the plate and then they paint over the whole thing. A bit like that middle bump stop there. And you also get some bolts to bolt it in there as well. So they've also been black anode, so they shouldn't rust. So I'll get this roughly mounted in there. Hopefully I don't stand in the way of the camera too much. Obviously they go one way. I'll show you that in a second. That one goes in there. That one goes in there. I'll just go and get, I don't know if I might have a socket here already. Is this the right one? Nope. Oh, we'll get the right one and then we'll get cracking on it. Alright, we've got the path of the handbrake cable. So, you can see here where it comes out. Got the clip in there, comes out. If it pulls tight, you can hear it pulling the handbrake shoes on. It's probably a bit loose at the moment. A bit tight actually, sorry. I need to back it off to be able to get this cable to connect up to this other bit here. So you see it comes around here, this hooks through that hole there. This one down here, there was an actual hole in the side of the rail there. Only reason I noticed it was it's got a little bit of a bulge in it, like it's had something pulling at it before, which obviously was that handbrake cable clip or bracket. And then you see it runs back down through here. It just runs on the side of the subframe here and runs down to the back, and same again over there. So I've got to back off the brake shoe adjustment enough to get this connected up, so you can see how far away it is here. That's got to go on there, and this has got to go there. So they're kind of about 100 millimeters away from each other at the moment. When I put them both together, let me see if I can get them both together to show you. So you can see where they are there, right? So they're about that far apart. So once I pull a bit on the handbrake, it kind of gets close, but it's still too tight. So I don't want to fit it in too hard yet, because I still have to get the handbrake mounted inside the car. And you can see here where this bow runs through here. No, it's not new. It was just a really good spare that I got off someone. So yeah, we'll get this all mounted, but I really need back off those brake shoes, and I'll have that connected, so you can see how this comes across to that point. This one sort of comes across to the similar sort of point, but here somewhere, you know what I mean? So it kind of looks like it's all pulling evenly. The other thing we're doing too is we're fitting this we're fitting these new bolts for the fuel tank straps. Most people wouldn't bother, but I mean, I looked at them and I thought they looked like dirty pieces of crap. Everything else in the car looks schmick and brand new, so why wouldn't I put these bolts in too? The straps and the tank's getting re-zinc coated, so I just need everything to look new like it does. Well, everything is new. So it's perfection. I'll bolt them in and I'll show you how good they look if we can get a look in there of where they actually fit. You can see, I don't know if you can see that bolt hole there, and that bolt hole there is where they go.